Ei, Ricardo.
Deu.
Oi, o correio chegou. Eu tive que...
Não, sem problema. All right, let's switch to English now.
Okay.
Last Friday, I had the privilege and the opportunity to talk with Nuno from NARC Expired Films. He's a reference and a pretty big seller here in Europe of expired films, and he's supplying shops, consumers, with every possible expired film he can find. You can check his films and his products on his Instagram, his eBay, and Etsy. We had a very nice, pleasant, long conversation talking about expired films and all the aspects that goes around the subject. So get yourself a coffee or a tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy our conversation. From Braga, Portugal, Nuno from NARC Expired Films. All right, Nuno, thank you very much for talking to me. It's pretty cool to first of all meet you and talk to you about something that I'm absolutely, let's say, uneducated about, which is expired films. And the guys from Blancro, when I was talking to Nikolai, he was asking me about some expired films, if I was shooting with expired films. Yeah, you know, eventually I always get like one roll of black and white, but they are expired, but not really expired. They are, you know, a bit over the expiring date, but kept in code and everything. And then Nikolai told me, do you know Nuno? And I say, Nuno? And I say, yeah, from NARC Film. And I was like, no. And then he gave me the tip and we got in touch. And then, you know, I said, well, come on, we need to talk about the...
And thanks for the invite. And Nicholas is a good friend, and all the time he tried to, you know, to find some expired films for me. But it's nice to be here, and it's nice to talk about expired film. It's something that I you know, I enjoy. I like the style. You know, and you know, I think it will be a nice conversation to talk a little bit about expired, because people are afraid to shoot expired film. I try to, you know, to sell a little bit that shooting expired is not so risky. So I think it will be a nice talk about to talk about the expired film.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm telling you, I'm like I was telling you, I was showing you a bit earlier. You know, all the rolls of few expired films that I have in here that I never been brave enough to even try. But I'm pretty sure that after this conversation, these rolls are going to the camera right away.
You need to shoot, and you need to shoot. I have also, I can show later on during the video some films that I have here. But we need to have a try. We need to have a try. Potentially, my key suggestion is that if you want to shoot expired film, you cannot choose, you know, like a specific event that is memorable and you don't have more opportunity to shoot. So imagine if you go to a wedding and you are a professional. No, you need to shoot something that you, okay, if you miss, okay, next time you will be there and you try again. However, if you know your films, if you know the background, you know that you will get great shots. So meaning that you should not be afraid. I go on holidays with my family and I pick random films from my stock. And I know that I will get pictures and I will get nice pictures. So people are afraid, because I think that, you know, also the internet sometimes drive these that, you know, you need to shoot fresh is good, expiry is bad, expiry like the food. If it's expired, it's garbage. Anymore, you know, but the film still have quality. It's true that if they were stored under the sun 40 degrees every day, you know, after 20 years they are done. So but
I would believe that even fresh film would go off pretty quick.
Yes.
In that
if
case.
You leave one day in the car, imagine that you forgot your backpack in trunk of your car, you know, it will happen the same. Or people are afraid about X-rays in the airport, you know, is damaged the film, you know. Films all the time is moving one place to another, so also the fresh, so they need to pass in the air. They need to be a control check it, so you know. But the expired, it's a beauty. It's the beauty of shooting, to get different colors, different tones, and to have something that you are not able to have if you use, for example, a smartphone. So because if you take a smartphone, you have a nice photo, but with expired, it's all the time unique. So
right. Let me ask you my first question, and I'm actually going to put two questions at the same time. So the first question is that, how did you start with film photography? And how did you end up with expired films?
Okay, good question. So when I was a kid, because I'm from I'm born in the 70s, I remember to use like analog cameras, 110, so the famous Agfa Pocket, and take, you know, when we go some holidays, and I take some photos. And also my mom all the time, they print all the photos and put in albums. I still have like 20 albums of my life since I was a kid. So I have my life history in photos, because they keep it all the photos since I was young. And when I starting, you know, after the 2000, and the vintage style starts to return, so meaning that the digital was the boom of digital, so the analog starts disappearing, the digital starts coming. I bought a digital one, but later on one day I start seeing that Polaroid is coming with Impossible Project. And I said, come on, I never shoot Polaroid in my life, because all the time I was with this Agfa Pocket. And okay, I buy a camera on eBay and start buying Polaroids from Impossible Project. It was nice, but it was expensive because it was, I think, 20 euros, a box with eight films.
Yeah.
8 films. You know, it was very expensive. And I said, come on, this cannot work. But at that time, Impossible Project was doing a lot of sales. Sales with what? With expired film or with B product, so product with defect that they didn't pass the quality. And I started buying, you know, this kind of film. And it was like less than half of in terms of the price. It was very nice deals. And I start shooting and I say, come on, the quality is the same. So it's expired, but I don't see any difference. And I said, come on, why? I never will buy any new stuff from them. All the time I only pick the expired. And I started on this way to shoot expired. So I still have one here. This is not so bad. I think this one of the last is from 17, so expired date is 17, so it's not so bad in terms of, you know, it's not old. And one day, okay, you know, you want to move on, and okay, and I started seeing that the analog starts growing, and I bought a Zenit. She's 12, so this Russian machine.
Yeah.
Like a brick, you know, if you throw away, you smash, you
break somebody's head with that.
So it was, and I put a film, and I don't remember if it was expired or not. It was my first, and the quality was so good, and I said, come on, this is nice. I need to start, and I start buying some films in that moment. Not care about fresh or expired. However, one day, something changed in my life, because I wanted to return to the Agfa Pocket, and I found one stock of this Konica. It was from Portugal, and the guy told me, I have 2,000 films, and 2,000
only.
And I said, okay, what is the price? And he gave me the price. Okay, I can buy. And I bought. And the film scams, it was 20 bucks, 20. And I said, what the hell, what I did? I'm not a photographer, and I will never. I like it, but I will not shoot these the rest of my life. I don't
And
have.
and just out of curiosity, when about was that?
This was around like 2017. Yeah, 16, 17 for around that it was 2 or 3 years before COVID, so around
Right.
17. And it was a lot. This is still stock from 2017, so
Right.
this is expired in 2004, but okay, this is the stock that I still bought and I still have. And I said, come on, let's buy something, because it's too much. I don't have space to keep it. And I put on sale and sell fast. And and this kind of commercial experience, if you can say in that way, starts. Okay, I was selling before records. Sometimes I bought 2 records, I sell it. So I like to sell it. In my professional, I'm a procurement guy. I buy stuff, but I also like to sell stuff. So this is kind of a mix, because in my real life I buy, in my hobby I sell.
You sell it, yeah.
So I close the loop, and I starting selling, and I starting digging to find more films. And I start in that moment, the expired film, it was not so popular, and people still have a lot of stock that we can buy. It was easy to buy in that time with nice quantities. And I started I started from Disconica. So if Disconica didn't appear in my life, I was not talking about expired.
But it's interesting. I asked you about the time of that, because I was still working at the local Photoshop lab that we have here in Helsinki. And I left in 2017, end of 2017. But at that point, a little earlier, I think that was about 2015, I went to the owner of the shop and I said, listen, you are probably one of the biggest shops here in Helsinki, and your selection of film photography is pretty poor. It was pretty poor. It was like the basic of the basic of the basic. So I talked to them and they, okay, Ricardo, here it is. You have free hands, improve the selection. And I started to improve in the selection. But around that time was the time, if I remember correctly, that Kodak stopped with all the slide films. So they stopped the manufacture of the Ektachrome. At that time was the time that Fuji was slowing the production of the H line, the H400 or something like that. Around that time was also the time where Polaroid went totally off. They broke down and they not coming back, at least they said so at that time. And also was a time when Fuji decided that they were going to stop with the peel-off films. I remember that, well, of course, I was working at the shop and I had a Polaroid peel-off camera, and I got all the last boxes of those FP. I don't remember exactly but the peel-offs, both the color and especially the black and white. That black and white for me was absolutely beautiful. And most of them at the shop at the time were already expired. So at that point, I was getting some expired ones because, people don't want to buy. And I was like, you know what, and I regret so much because I do and I don't. Because I took those films and looking now on the future, if I would have stored that thing, Jesus, I would have made so much money because because people are paying ridiculous amounts for those films. But no, man, I shot. I put it on the camera and I went to shoot.
That was a good idea. Good idea. No, but you mentioned good stuff, because I was not this is a hobby for me, but for what I understand on these years is that the expired film, it's hard for me to find expired film after 2010. So if I found a stock from with expired date from 2010 and now, it's because somebody bought the film, keep it, didn't use, and after a few years, you know, they have 10 films to sell, 20 films to sell because they didn't use. Because if you want to buy a batch of film, you will only find stock from 2010 and before. And this is, you know, this is the norm. So sometimes people ask me, Nuno, I want expired film, but needs to be almost fresh. This doesn't happen because the market doesn't have this kind of stock, because and potentially because you're working in the shop. And I remember when I was a kid, when we take the photos and we go to the photo shop, we had the service that we pay is to develop and to print, and they give us, you know, a film free for us.
Yeah.
And what happens is that these shops have tons and tons of free films that the manufacturers, Kodak, Fuji, Konica, and so ever, they did in massive, because where they win the money was not to sell the films, but it was on development
and
So giving the films away, it was a way to get the clients in the other door for printing, and this was the, you know, the business model. So on the moment that the digital started around 2000 and starting growing year by year, and this kind of stock will start to stay in the shops because nobody goes there to print. It's where, you know, the big pile of expired was stocked somewhere, and this is the stock that exists. But after 2010, you know, and for me, I saw tons and tons of expired film doesn't exist. So for me, expired film from 2015 is because, like me, I buy this one, but later on I put in the fridge and this is there for forever.
But I also believe that the manufacturers got, let's say, of course, that their orders dropped.
Yes.
The production went down. Even, you know, it's a matter of supply. If the
basically, I think that they stop factories, so factories closed, productions went down, and later on the volume that they put in the market, it was almost the demand. So meaning that what they put, people buy, and this is why we see in the last years some problems where Kodak or Fuji doesn't have enough volume for the demand, and people doesn't have films to buy. So it's very normal that you go to a shop and ask for a film, and they don't have it because they didn't receive from these big manufacturers, because their volume production starts to be lower and lower. And this is why also the expired film starts to be more important on these times, because it's a way to also to compensate the lack of fresh film.
Exactly. Yeah. And just in this conversation, keeping the line, how do you see the public that it's buying the expired films? How do you see that? Because at least back on the days that I was at the shop, and I'm talking because that was the time that I had a bit more contact with expired films at that point. I was looking, I remember, in eBay and some other places, and it was funny because the newly expired film, or the ones that were expired like 2-3 years maybe, they were selling for very cheap. They were cheaper, used to be cheaper than the fresh film at the time. But then older stocks, the price was absurd. They were asking like really. And I remember that at the time we used to say that only the hipsters would shoot with the expired film. So how do you see nowadays with all these changes in the market? What is the people that is buying the expired film?
It's a good question, because I'm selling online, I don't know who is the other side.
Right.
This is a fact. However, sometimes when I'm from Portugal, and when they came to my city, I see a lot of young people, not sure if they found a camera at home because it was from his dad and he wants to start shooting, or because you know, we are in the age that everything that is vintage is nice, so meaning that it's nice to use a
nostalgic
camera, so an analog camera than a digital. So I'm not sure, but I see a lot of young people coming also to the market. The only thing that I see is picking also what you said, is that the prices sometimes is quite you know, strange prices, because it depends a little bit on the vibe on the internet. Because imagine Kodak Gold, you know, people goes to the internet and only appears Kodak Gold. So and the people only want, and for that, you know, the price is high, because you know, everybody wants this film, but they didn't want to try other films that potentially are cheaper and much better than Kodak Gold. Other stuff, it's like, it's true that if you have a strange film from 20 years ago that was finished and doesn't exist anymore, you know, the price will be very high. Because you know, somebody shoot when he was young and know that the film was so good, and he wants, you know, you want to try again the same chemical. So this is why we see sometimes strange films that nobody knows with a high price. But you know, this market is funny, because people sometimes are looking for these golds, Kodak Gold or Fuji C200. Others, they only care about strange boxes. So these boxes that is produced in China in 90. So it's one of my best sellers at the moment. Because you know, it's because the box is different. It's from China. People want to try. The result will be quite nice. You know, it's not I think that it was produced by Kodak in China, because Kodak have some factories in the 90s in China, and they did a partnership with Lucky, and this kind of was produced by Kodak factory. And I believe that this one, the Seagull, is also Lucky film, but okay, it doesn't say nothing. But it's only to say that the people, we know it's very, so it's people that want to shoot because they are is fancy, are like hipsters, like you said. People that are only shooting some specific film because they are looking for a gold, or the ones that, you know, no, I wanted the strange film that you have. So please, or strange things. I'm born in 75. No, do you have films expired in 75? Oh, come on, now I need to go to find
looking for the
to see if if expired is from 75, in order to, because he wants to, he wants to, you know, to have a film from his birthday. But no, it depends. I think that the population or the target goes for young kids, like teenagers, until 50, 60 years.
And we were talking about you know, the let's say the quality of the film and the fresh, expired, and all that kind of thing. So comparing them both, of course, that, like we mentioned also earlier, there is like the storage condition, how it's kept, how it's not kept, and all that kind of thing. But let's put that aside for a second. What exactly are the technical differences between the expired and the fresh, if there is any? What exactly is how should I shoot my 20 years old expired film if I'm up to? Is there something that I have to do different, or is it just loading, exposure, and go for it?
This is a good question. It's also a controversial question, because again, I'm not like an expert on this part, but I know from my experience and for what I read. But what I know is that, and a lot of people will say, no, this is bullshit, what I will say, and I will not disagree. But for my experience, so if the film is expired, obviously you lost some qualities, so some degradations in terms of the chemicals, and this is true. However, if you want to shoot, exists one, formula that is very popular in the web, that for each decade, so for each 10 years,
One stop up.
You reduce one stop.
Yeah.
See some examples in the internet that you see the result, and others that the result was minimal. For my experience and for results that buyers did with reducing 1 or 2 stops, depending on the age, makes a big difference in the positive way. So my recommendation is if you want to get the maximum of your expire, try to reduce, and don't care about if they are, the storage, because nobody knows the storage of these films. Because if these films is from the 80s, it's 40 years. I cannot know what happens in 40 years. I know that the guy that sold me, they told me a story, but the guy that potentially sold to him and so on, we cannot know. So don't try to think too much. Try to do this kind of one stop. Sometimes what I do is that if the films are from this century, I don't care. I shoot as is. So I don't care too much about to do the shot, to reduce one stop. If it's from 90s and so on, I will do it. Or sometimes if you buy me, 5 films, the first try to do some difference, some different type of ISO for testing, and later on you compare, and later on the next 4 you should. But one stop it's enough for a decade. But again, you should shoot without fear. This is, I think, it needs to be the message. And the other thing very important, shooting at daylight. These films, they love light. So imagine if it's like a cloudy day, try to avoid a cloudy day, because will not work, because they like too much light. Another thing very important that about the degradation is the ISO of the film. Because imagine, I see a lot of people coming to me and they only want a high ISO, because they think that if it's high ISO they will get better results. For me, I prefer lower ISO, because if it's 100 ISO, I go to 50. It's a small reduction in terms, but if it's 800, you need to jump to 400. It is a big jump in terms of the ISO. So the degradation of the films with high ISO is higher, much higher than the small. And people sometimes they don't see that, and they try to go to high ISO, and later on doesn't work so.
But I kind of would actually think exactly the way that you're saying, because if you have comparing even the fresh film, if you have the high ISO and the lower ISO, of course that the higher ISO is more sensitive. If it's more sensitive, that, at least for me, it tells that it's more sensitive. That means that variations and things can degrade the film a lot faster than you would on a lower ISO film. That's like my natural thinking when thinking, like when going for that.
No, because I remember to have Kodak VR 1000 and to get it from 80s, and normally but to get great results I need to shoot at 50, and later on the results was amazing. But right. You go from a film that is 1000 ISO and you need to shoot at 50. If it was a film of 100, you can do it with 50 as well, and it will take. But okay, it's only to say that you buy a film of 1000, but in the end of the day you need to shoot as a lower ISO. So in some way you can go directly to the lower ISO, and you don't need to do this kind of message. But okay. You can do what you want in terms of, but you need to be very careful that if it's high ISO, you need to reduce more when you are shooting daylight, and no fear, because I shoot I only buy I only buy expired film. So since 2017, I never buy any fresh film. And if I buy, sometimes Lomography puts some strange films on the market. And what I do, I buy, I put somewhere and stay there forever. And one day they will be expired, and I will pick and I will shoot. So I will do my like the wine. Yeah, I put the putting aging. When they are expired, okay, they are good to go. But we don't need to be feared, and this is, I think, it's important message.
For you as a seller, selling expired films, how is it for you to deal with, let's say, film issues? I mean, when someone buy an expired film, and let's say the development or the film doesn't come the way that they were expecting, and if it is a fresh film, actually I had a problem not long ago with the former film. I think that is the video that you watched that you were telling me, and of course I contact the factory and all that kind of thing. But for you selling expired film, sometimes some films with not, let's say, potentially not very good reputation on in itself, how do you deal that with your customers?
It's good, because one of the things I try is I'm a one-man show, an hobby, but I try to have a good customer service to people that buy the films, because they have some expectations, so they pay and they want to see something in the end. So the first thing that I think is very important is that is a risk. This is expired, and I cannot give any guarantee, because films that have more 10, 40, 50 years old, I cannot guarantee. What I try to do is I try to test some, because I don't have to test all, but to test at least the ones that are more popular, in order to show in my Instagram page some samples, in order for people to see what is expected as the output of the photo. But also I know that some brands without testing are still good. So imagine if you are looking for like a Ferrania. Ferrania for me is the best. Everything that is produced in Italy, so Ferrania, Scotch, 3M, or other kind of professional for reporter film, that this is produced by Ferrania, branded with a strange name, and this is amazing. So and I can give some advice. I can give some advices, and I also if people tell me specific, no, if this film is what you think about this film, I will try to be very transparent with my personal expectations if I shoot that film for me. But again, at this moment, and I am here since 2017, I remember to receive one complaint, but for films that I already tested tons of times and worked very well. And for me, it was, what the hell, why didn't work to you? So, and the person said, I was a professional since long time ago, and I will not doubt, but I don't know what happens on that case, if it was, in the transportation, something badly, or in the development, or the person shooting, because it comes from the same batch that I sell tons of films, I also shoot, and it was great films. And why that person didn't realize. But okay, sometimes we need to manage these, and we need to try to see what we can do in order for the person. But all the time, it's people knows the risk, so meaning that if they have different tones, they are not complying. And sometimes I see some photos that for me I don't like it, and I ask, did you enjoy? And to understand, yes, I enjoy. So people sometimes want the extreme, want something that is too grainy, too color change. So it's hard.
But that's what I would actually think about the expired film. We mentioned earlier, of course, that if you're going to shoot an expired film, shoot something that that it can be replace it in a way that the photo doesn't have some sentimental value attached to it, that, you know, if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, okay, next row and everything, okay. But I do think that that the expired film actually has a place on the artistic side of the things, exactly on what you're saying, that sometimes all the shifting of colors, all the grainy, it's exactly the artistic expression in a way that the person is looking for that particular work.
No, this is true. I have some buyers that they came to me only for these strange films in order to get strange image for their work, because or they do later on soup mix on the development with strange combinations,
right?
Or they mix try to do double exposures. You know, they try to combine. I remember to sell Polaroid, original Polaroid, not impossible, and the possibility to work, it was very low, and I know I was very transparent with the person, so potentially you will not get nothing, but I want Nuno, please sell me, I want it. And later on she showed me the results. It was like, she wants to build a artistic with this old Polaroid, and with the small image that they will be captured. So I see a lot of artistic also behind, so people that wants to work on this side. But also, if you see now the mobiles, you see a lot of filters for vintage style.
Yeah.
And why they put it? Because people like it. So if you shoot and automatically the vintage style appears in your photo without any filter from the smartphone, it's great. You can have.
But this, as you mentioned, is pretty interesting, because a couple of weeks ago I had like a photo walk here with the people from Pentax. They supposed to have this new digital Pentax monochrome for us to test it, but it didn't happen. We had the digital cameras, and I happen to have quite a collection. I have like here about three different Pentax cameras, plus a medium format that a friend of mine borrowed to me. And when we were talking about the market, and it was funny because the representative of the conversation was the fact that Pentax is producing a new film camera that should come to the end of the year to the market. And during that conversation, he was saying that, okay, but what were the reasons for the producing? And one of the things, among other ones, that the fact that it's been so long that since someone else produced a proper film consumer film camera, cheap, that people can go and buy, not professional ones, let's put it this way. And he was saying that one of the reasons is because the new generation, they actually want to experiment the real thing. They are fed up of the filter, of the mobile filter. They know that they can get that, but they don't understand where that came from, and they are getting curious to know and to experiment with those technologies.
I think that when you go to a time where we have almost everything in terms of technology, and later on you starting seeing that in the past everything was different, more manual, more industrial, industrially, or I said like very mechanical. People start to have this curiosity to start using, and this is why I mentioned before, a lot of young people are coming to this, and you can see also now some brands try to put some cameras new in the market. Not sure if they will result so much, because I think that we still have a lot of good cameras in the market from the past, these mechanical cameras that are easy to fix, easy to repair, easy to maintain. So and cheaper in some way, and this could also and a lot of cameras, because they are strong cameras, they still resist at the time. So I think that people are changing, because people want to try this nature, try to change these old style. It's not only on the photography. You see in other stuff. If you go to buy music, if you guys, so now, you know, in music you see vinyl back, cassette back. So one will be mini disc. So you know, everything that is old, you have appealing. I'm not sure if it's because, you know, it's a way also for you to show that you are different from the others. You know, I'm more, you know, I'm more stylish because I have no analogic. I don't know, but this boom is coming. If this will go away, because sometimes people told me, no, but if nobody wants to buy any more expired film, what you will do? And I say, yeah, this boom could disappear, but will still be people looking for film to shoot analog. So this could be up and down. It's everything. It's like the crisis. So with COVID, people shoot more. I see.
But I have a theory, Nuno, about that, about this analog boom. And when I mean analog, I see the same thing happening with music and photography in a way. Why that? People are going back to the vinyl, going back to the cut. Maybe the cassette a bit less than the vinyl in that sense, but those are proven old technologies. What I mean by that the time, you know, a well-kept vinyl is going to last pretty much forever if you don't screw up. The same thing happens with analog cameras, especially the mechanical ones. The you say mid-80s to back, you know, the least electronics you have on the camera, the better, because they test the time, you know. They were working 50, 60 years ago. You load a roll of film and they still going. And in the case of the expired film, I especially looking, and that's something that I've been following quite closely lately, it's about the film market. I honestly don't see, good for you, I see on that way, C41 color film resisting that long, I mean fresh ones in the market. I see people in YouTube saying that, oh, because Kodak's going to bring this or that film back from the past, or this, and I don't see it happen. I really don't, because the prices of fresh film nowadays, you know, we are paying something like 20 euros for a roll of Portra, you know, and if you get like a Portra 800, at least here in Finland, is like 30 euros for a roll of film.
Go to expire.
And worse than that is that a couple of weeks ago, Kodak Alaris, which is the distributor of Kodak, they were listed, they were reported for sale. So, okay, they are the distributor, not the producer. Eastman Kodak produces the film, but it's very unclear. It's very unclear what Kodak Alaris actually owns, because as far as we know, Eastman Kodak owns all the motion picture films. So we're talking about all those ECN2 that you might have some there as well, I'm pretty sure, and Tri-X and Ektachrome. That's it. And everything else, it's is believed to belong to Kodak Alaris, that Eastman produces under the Alaris patent. So if they really sell the company and go to someone that that is not interested to keep the film, the color film or the black and white film, the T-Max line going on, shut it. And the problem is that right now for fresh film, there is only Kodak.
No, it's true, and I can tell you that I see when the production of these big manufacturers are down, I start to receive a lot of requests from shops because they don't have nothing on their shelves, and they, okay, let's put expired film. And when they are good, you know, they reduce the orders. But I see a lot of people coming to me telling, I don't have films in my shop, so they are out of stock, or they are too much expensive. So 20 years, 15 years, depending on the film. So, and you know, and this is a pity because sincerely, I like to have new films on the market, because one day these films will be fresh. Sorry, will be expired.
Yeah.
Because if they don't put new fresh film in the market, my business, if you can call it that way, my hobby will disappear. I realized a few years ago that it's nice. It's an hobby for me. I sell it. This is all the stuff is nice, but I know that the life of this hobby will disappear soon, because the expired film from 2010 and below, as soon somebody picked one, they use it and disappear. So nothing will replace those films. So if we don't have more fresh film in the market that in one day transforming expired, in a few years you will not have any expired film to shoot.
That's true.
So also for me it's quite because when I have a box with, for example, this Hilford super. I remember to have a lot. This is color film. This is amazing. Now I only have a few, and I know that when this disappears, this few that I have, I will use. I know that I will never find it. Or
another one again.
No, and for me, this is the pity of this. Sometimes I don't want to sell because I want to shoot one day.
Keep it, yeah.
But this is the thing is that the expired film will die one day because I don't know. Sometimes I say sometimes I can tell you that I have some periods that I'm not able to find any expired film in quantities enough, and I think okay. All expired was founded in the past, so now nobody is willing to sell because they don't exist. But one day to another appears somebody somewhere in this world, tell me, Nuno, I have these tons of films that you want. So it's nice when we find somebody with new expired batch of film, but they will disappear.
But do you think that has something also to do with, like, let's say, marketing side of it, that someone knows that they have an expired batch that they don't want to put it in the market until that stock reaches some certain price? Or
no, for what I know, sometimes these stock are lost. Are people that they have like photoshops and they are closed and they store the stock somewhere and they don't care, and potentially after a few years they go dead and they see that now people give some value to the expired and they sell it, or like old warehouses of Ferragni in Italy or Kodak somewhere that they were dead and somebody opened the warehouse. And they see, okay, let's sell it. I have situations that warehouses that will be demolished, and when they are open, they have a lot of film inside, and they contact me to if I want to keep some. So I don't see people, keeping the films for a later moment. Sometimes I think if I did it, now I will be rich. Because I remember to sell films very cheap in the past, and now the same film could be like 4-5 times more with a lot of demand. But okay, but no, I don't see people keeping these because it's a lot of people doing business with cameras. Cameras is very strong because the revenue of a camera could be depending on the camera, but it could be 200, 300, 500, depending on the business. But
yeah, I know.
Talking about the film that I'm selling, for example, this one one of my popular one, Perutz, €7, €8, depending on the market, depending on the platform. So and I don't buy by €1. So this is the problem. So what I win for one, it's quite peanuts in the end of the day. So meaning that the people that are in this expired film, it's because they have a shop and they sell cameras, and okay, I need to sell some films, or people that find some stock and okay, it's good to get some euros to spend somewhere. And people like me, it's quite rare. I know 2 or 3 that is only focused on the expired film, but the others are. This is only a way to sell another stuff. So this is why I don't see people keeping this to get to the price to raise, because you know, they can raise, but it's more €1. So meaning the workload doesn't compensate for the minimum.
The quantity that you would have to actually keep it has to be quite big to make some considerable, let's say, profit out of it.
Yeah, because if somebody from a camera sends a Hasselblad, potentially the profit could be depending on how they buy or to sell. But okay, it's too much for that guy from me from selling expired. I need to sell a lot of rolls in order to get. And to sell a lot of rolls means a lot of envelopes to fill. And
I was going to say that. Yeah.
The workload. Sometimes
it's
people
big.
Why you are doing that, Nuno? But sometimes it's because I also obviously I cannot. Obviously I win money. I cannot hide. But it's also because in the middle of this conversation, I meet people. So I know people from all places in this world that contact me, send me message, and some are repetitive. So meaning that they send me a continuous message, and this is for me it's the nice thing is to have these contacts from all kind of places, because I can tell you that I believe that I sell to almost all parts of this world. I remember to sell to Greenland, so wow. I didn't know that somebody
that's unusual.
wants to buy my films. Okay, in Russia before the war, all the strange cities in the Asia side, so meaning that needs to cross all the Russia, all the like Kyrgyzstan, or Tasmania in the south of Australia. So all the places that you can imagine, they already received one film from me. And for me, this is it's grateful. It's grateful because somebody, and also because, and people sometimes tell me, Nuno, you are doing a good job, not in terms of customer service, but if you didn't find the film, potentially the film could have a risk to go to the garbage and nobody use it. So meaning that now somebody have opportunity to use a film that now, this one from 3M from the 80s, this box, this kind of box is very old. So you never, you don't have opportunity to see this anymore. And this is very nice comparing with the new Kodak or Fuji
boxes.
Boxes. This is very, very nice boxes with some style, if we can say.
Yeah.
So, and this is, and people also, it's also, you are bringing some history that was somewhere hide, and people now can see it, can also, I know people that do some kind of books of history of the films, and they need to find this, the boxes in order to take the photos for their films, and they came to me if I have a specific box because it's missing on their collection and you need to take the photo for the film, but also bring some story. I think I didn't bring any here, but for example, I remember to see some Ferrania with UNICEF
logo.
Because they are doing something for UNICEF, or like contests to go to Maldives. Could happen sometimes. Or the Fuji were very popular with the World Cups or the Olympics. So with the logo. So
with the logo,
it was something that I remember to have a lot since 82, the World Cup of 82, until the World Cup of 2000.
It was all Fuji, wasn't it?
All Fuji. Yeah. Kodak was not too much on that side.
If I remember correctly, back in Brazil, I still remember that. I don't ask me why. I really don't know. I actually, it's just because I used to love the logo. from the Olympics in Barcelona. I don't remember when was that. I think that was in 1992.
Yes, yes.
If I'm right. And that the logo was just like this very simple, one square, one line, and another line. And I remember clearly on going, they used to sell those films on the news agents on everywhere in Curitiba. And I remember like those, I think that was the Fuji, I don't remember which one, that they would sell the 3 packs of Fuji film with a pack and with the Olympic logo on it and say Barcelona 1992 and all that. For some reason, I have that in my mind.
No, and these are, it's funny sleeves, funny cartoons, and I see a lot of people that are not looking for film but looking for World Cup stuff.
Memorabilia, yeah.
That they buy only to put it together with balls or other kind of merchandising that works. But I know another story. It's another guy that sells expired film from UK. One day I sell Fuji Extra 400, a box of 3, and in the back says you can get a Big Mac for free. You know, like McDonald's advertising. And he did a video. I think it's in his Instagram. He went to a McDonald's and he showed the box. You know, can I get the Big Mac here? And then the guy gave the Big Mac as it was nice. So people choose it to try and get the Big Mac. But this is also the funny things of these sleeves, because sometimes you see strange sleeves coming with these kind of promotions with McDonald's or with others. That it's also design history, because you see also the logos on that time, what they promote, what they are trying to sell in combination with films. And sometimes it's a kind of, it's too much to say that is archaeological stuff, but it's something that it was old, that people now potentially they don't remember anymore, and we still have some examples that we can show. And now now that people gives more value, potentially they can immortalize it in videos or in books, because in the past nobody cares. They use it, throw away, that nobody keeps nothing.
But I think that you are absolutely right. Maybe not like an archaeological point of view. I think that would be a bit too much. But historically, of course that it does. If you take like these boxes and the designs and all that, what they were putting back on the days, and who knows, even nowadays it's more to the digital, so I wouldn't think so. But it tells the let's say we can make a straight connection to pop culture from the last century based on film boxes.
Yes. No, because sometimes if you see the boxes until the beginning of the 80s, they are very conservative style. In the 80s they play a little bit, and also in the 90s. And now again they are conservative, they are not funny. So the new boxes that we are seeing now, they are not funny. But also what was also good is the rebranding. So they go to the factories, and I have a supermarket and I want to put my supermarket logo in the and people sometimes they don't care about these films, because they see this a specific supermarket in the specific country, and they think, okay, this is a bad film. But what is inside could be Ferrari, it could be Kodak, could be Fuji, and nobody knows, and they don't give a value for that. And these films are quite amazing. Quite amazing.
I got from a friend of mine that distributes the Agfa, and he's like the distributor of film here in Finland. I actually do some work with them with Focus Nordic, and Temu gave me some old expired disposable cameras, gave me like 6 or 7 or something close to that, and all with color film. And he said that, okay, I know that the cameras are rubbish, they all have like leaked batteries on the thing, was pretty screwed up. And then he say, but come on, go to your dark room, open them all, get the films off, and shoot with your camera. And say, okay, so I did that. And I was surprised that they were like those super cheap Chinese things that comes around every now and then. And they came with like this Agfa Vista 400.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I was like, okay, Agfa. All right. I actually didn't shoot. I load the film in my kid's camera, and we went out to shoot. I was doing black and white, and my kids were doing the color. So I went to develop the color one. When I got the film back, developed, I look at the negative, and I was like, man, I've seen this before. This doesn't look like anything new. I was expecting something Agfa, you know. It's Fuji Xperia 400. It's this exactly the same film, rebranded. And this is an interesting thing because if you say that something is like Fuji, or if you say some Kodak Gold, like you were saying, you know, it has like the brand value attached to the thing. But then let's say you get like a Boots roll of film that it's a Kodak Gold 200 inside, and you know, suddenly the price goes down just because you don't have the Kodak tag there.
Yes, it's true. It's true. This is why I know about the disposable cameras that people sometimes buy, because they take away, because they exist a gossip that a lot of disposable cameras have Portra inside. I never find any. But this is something that this is popular. By the way, one tip for the people that are listening to us: if you buy expired disposable cameras, don't buy with flash, because flash needs to have a battery, and battery normally is leaked. So try to buy the normal camera, and you shoot on later on, we can take off the film and use in a normal camera. So this is a tip that I learned with these years. No cameras with flash, because the battery could be totally damaged. No, but it's true, because, for example, in the other day, This Parrots is one of the films that follow me since the beginning. You know, I think it was one of the first films that I found in big quantities, and I still get in big quantities. And only in the other day, I realized that this is Agfa Vista, and people doesn't know. So people see Perutz, and potentially it doesn't give too much, you know, as a branding. They don't give too much value, but what is inside is Agfa Vista. So, and this is something that people sometimes, you know, goes by the name, and they don't care what is inside. You know, like this one, Fotosi. This is amazing, but with this strange name, saying that VIP online as well, like a brand here. So, you know, people doesn't give nothing to that, but you know, this is Ferrania, and one of the biggest, you know, best color films that I ever shot all the time was Ferrania. But again, only to say that they branded, people doesn't care, and they are great films. But this story about the Portra, I don't know if it's potentially somebody could put in the comments if somebody already opened.
Ever found a Portra? Yeah.
I heard a lot of stories, but I never opened one and I see a Portra inside. Normally it's a Kodak 800, if it's a 800 ISO camera, but with like kind of, you know, they have this kind of a scale. I don't know very well what this means. In the Kodak films, they have 1, 2 until 9. So they have a number like closer to the expiration, not the expiration, with the exposures, a big number. I think it's related to some kind of chemicals of the film itself. Right. And it seems that if the number is high, better quality. But normally when I see this disposable all the time, it's like 4 or less, so meaning that the quality it's quite low.
Yeah, let's see. I tried with my proper SLR, the Vista Plus, the Agfa. I still haven't got the development from the lab. I was literally shooting at the beginning of the week, and I need to see. I want you to, but like I said, It's Fuji Xperia 400, pretty much. I don't have any reason to believe that anything wrong would happen to the film or anything. You know, it's reliable, let's put it this way. Might not be the best quality, but no reason to doubt that it's gonna come up just fine.
I think that for you know, the only thing that we need to be careful is slide film. If they are old, because the slide it's degrade better. Yeah, this is from where?
No.
It's not zooming. Okay. Probably.
On.
Okay, zoom. Okay, now it's a zoom. Okay. Okay, but it's 14, so 14 is quite good.
It's not too bad. Yeah.
Not too bad. And the film is good. So imagine if it's. I remember to shoot Ektachrome from the 90s, 120 film. And the quality it was good. So if it's Kodak or Fuji on 120 slide film, we will get great results. I'm not too much concerned. But it's true that the slide, the tendency is to degrade faster. But it's the only thing that we need to be more careful when we are shooting. Or later on, when you develop it, you develop as a C41 instead of slide. And you could
cross process,
get better results.
One thing that for me has always been, I don't know if that is like maybe a past mistake or something that they were doing in the past with the expired films that kind of put me a little off from shooting expired, was that I don't know why when I was working at the lab. Sometimes we were developing some expired films, and I don't know if purposely people was putting the thing under the sun and doing some stuff to play around with the film, that the colors would come totally off. I always had a little bit of a problem also with the cross processing. I mean, because the colors would shift so much from one thing to the other, and I'm like.
Again, if I go to my stock of film that I already use, I will see great films and great problems. But I think that sometimes is also depending. If you are in the professional shop, you are looking to fresh. The guy that developed my films only develop fresh films. I'm the only guy from Expired, and he says, "What the hell? No, this doesn't work." he said, "I asked, so are the films okay? I can see the colors." Yeah, you can see the colors, but but because his highs is only for fresh, so everything that and I when I see that he says, "Yes, I have colors, but I don't like." Okay, for me it's great. I know that I will have good shots. So it depends a little bit on the sensitivity of the person, because if you are very focus on fresh, when they see a expired film coming to develop, they will see that the output is not good. And this is the pity, because I don't develop in-house. I need to go to somebody else. And here in Portugal, at least, we don't have nobody expert to develop expired
film.
When I say expert, it's not only that they have a specific recipe, because it exists a lot of recipes. I see a lot of recipes on the web specific for expired film, with a lot more agitation and some other components. I'm not very familiar with that. But it was more, what I want to say is not to have somebody that have a specific recipe, but somebody that loves the expired film. Because I know that when I put my films on the lab, they are not treated like like
the same. Yeah.
So they are like they are. If the chemicals are not so good,
it's all right.
It's okay for Nuno because it's expired. So and this is something that it's a pity, but it's true, because you cannot have, if these people that do a life doing developing, they need to deliver a good service, and for that they want to have the fresh films.
And I think that for the shop, and of course that like you're saying, we know that the outcome from the expired film cannot be compared to the outcome of a fresh film. You have to have like the perspective of the differences. But from the shop perspective, I think that also comes a little bit of like the marketing thing, because you cannot expect to have a very good result with nice colors, you know, perfect, even though the day of development might be spot on, perfect, you know, everything tuned to the very fine, but then you get an expired film that had some color shift, and I say, I cannot show that to my customers. They're never gonna come back.
True. So my photos never appear on the press and Instagram, and the guy is my friend, so I know very well, but he never put, because I know my photos are from other markets, and
exactly,
it's focused, and it's fine, and I'm okay with it. But this is true that my photos doesn't appear on this kind of promotion. This is why when I have people, because this is why I try to, you know, to bring people to Instagram, to try to, you know, to not to question, to build a relationship, but also to, you know, you use my photos, please share the outcome, because I know that the quality will be amazing for others to see, you know, the quality of the films. Because people are still afraid, and there exists a kind of a complex about the expired film. And I think that this is also because they read a lot of the internet. For example, one thing that I can give them an advice. It's true that it's good to understand the storage, but imagine films with almost 40 years. And people ask me, no, how this film was stored? I don't know. I can tell you, it's in the fridge, and because I see a lot of people say is in the fridge, and for me, 99% of the times, it's the people is lying, because imagine who is keep 40 years this or a bunch of films in the fridge.
In the fridge, exactly.
You know, this doesn't happen. I have some films in the fridge. My wife doesn't like it, but no, but this is only a few, because you cannot have a warehouse in a fridge for you know, not for one day or for 20 years or so. People, you know, people when they ask me, and I tell, I'm very transparent. This comes from Photoshop's warehouse. I believe that was stored in a cool place, but not in the fridge. And I know that I'm answered that, and that person will not buy. You know, basically, I know that my answer will block a sale, but I'm try to be very transparent. But for me, what is more important as a question is not to understand the storage. Is no, did you test? Did you have somebody that already used it? You know, what is your feeling about it? And I think this question could be more value to the buyer, that, you know,
than the storage,
because nobody knows. It's films with could be also 10 years. 10 years, a lot of things could happen. So,
but we can see clearly, for example, from the Photoshop that I was working, it was pretty interesting, and it's good that we're not mentioning names in here. But anyway, but it was funny because when we had the stock, when we had like the big boxes and coming, of course that we are here in Finland, and it's colder anyway, but everything was kept in this storage room, which didn't have an air conditioning, didn't have any specific cooling. It wasn't a hot room. It was like all year round, let's say room temperature, anything like between, let's say, 17 to 21, 22 degrees on the hot summer day, which is kind of okay for room temperature. But once we took those films from that storage box, that storage room, and we would put on a shop, it would go to the fridge. And then we would keep those ones on the fridge.
It's true because you know, it's not possible to have boxes like the story that I mentioned in the beginning, 20 boxes of Kodak 110. So obviously this was never in the fridge, because, you know, it's big. But people do these kind of questions and automatically they don't buy. And I know that they will ask to another one. They say that was in the fridge and they go immediately.
Buy. Oh.
And I think it's one of the tips that all the time I tell the people that please don't believe. Obviously, if you were a professional photographer and you buy it, and meantime you change it to digital, and these people have exist, and they still have like 20 films stored in
on the fridge. Yeah.
But it's 20. It's not 200. It's not 2,000. So, and this is some of the tips. I think it's more people needs to be more talking about shooting, where you shoot, some tips and so on, instead of us going directly to the warehouse where they were stored, because doesn't work.
Yeah. But Nuno, we've been talking for quite long here, which is great. It has been like a educational talk to you, with all the expired film. I guess these rolls that I have in here, of these ones are about 22 years old. So
for me, so if they are from 2000 till now, for me it's fresh.
Yeah. So I shall try them, and I have this one that's pretty interesting because it's a Portra 160 VC, which is, I think, that is vivid color, so it should be give quite a bit of contrast, isn't it?
Yes.
And yes. And then some rows of 160 NC, and this is the interesting ones, these Provias. And I have not stored them in any good condition. They were inside a box, inside my cupboard, which might have been pretty hot, I have to say. But why not?
If they are not directed to the sun or in the car and so on, and obviously with the degradation, natural degradation and so on, but the film will be working. It's also the X-ray. All the time I receive a lot of questions about X-ray in the airport. They will damage. Can we do a manual scan? Can you put a sticker in the box saying that is films inside to avoid scanning? Sincerely, my experience is that if you are traveling, it's hard to find a way to not scan your bag with the films. Now with this kind of security, or you have a good airport or a good country where you can get easily a document that you can show to the authorities and they accept, it will be hard. But later on, considering my story, not my story, my thing is the following. People sometimes concern, hey, no, you are shipping from Portugal to US, so they will be scanning, potentially my films will be damaged. First thing, the film potentially was produced in Japan or produced in Italy, so they need to
transport somehow.
A lot of times until they go to the shop in US or shop in Japan. So meaning that they already pass a lot of X-rays and nobody complained, especially on the fresh film.
True.
So why you are now complaining with the expired film? So and I already, as a tourist, I bring my films and I never see some degradation about the X-ray. So I think that sometimes potential. I don't say that there doesn't exist a degradation. Potential exists something. But it's nothing that they will destroy completely the film, So sometimes I think that people go too much extreme when they read some stuff on the internet. I think that people need to be less fear and try. I think is my big recommendation. No fear. Try, give it, and see what coming out without any kind of fear.
I actually, talking about this just quickly, this thing about the airports, I had quite a problem with that. I was still working at the shop at the time, and I went to Brazil. So I went to my boss and I said, listen, I want to take 4 boxes of this, that, and I think that I took 4 boxes of Tri-X to take with me, 120, all of them. So I took 1 or 2 boxes with me in my backpack, and I put everything else to go with my suitcase. Okay, and the deal was that what I didn't use in Brazil, I could go back to the shop, put it back to the fridge, and I would just pay for whatever I used.
Mhm.
So I did, all good, all fine. And, you know, I paid for whatever I used, I put it back to the fridge. 2 weeks after comes a customer. What happened to this film? It was a Tri-X. And I was like, we said, weird. And then he said, yeah, I bought from this box, and 2 of the films came like this. And then we were all thinking, and then suddenly kind of a light bulb just came to my mind. Say, oh no.
I know, it's like,
Then I went to my boss. And say, listen, I better just buy all those films. We apologize to the customer, give him another roll and apologize again, because these films are screwed with the X-ray. Then I end up buying the rest of the boxes, and I shot with all of them.
And you were okay.
They were not okay. They were deteriorated for sure. Like, it was super grainy. There was some, but when I realized what was happening, the shots that I was doing were actually shots that I actually was expecting that to happen. So I kind of drove the artistic point of the thing to have that kind of result. So it didn't bother me in the end.
In the end of the day, it's like that. So potential degradate in the expired film, you will not see too much that deviation, because it's expected that exists also the deviations from the fresh, because the fresh should be like a painting, should be nice.
Yeah.
So any kind of deviation should be more visible. And later on, it's like, because you are aware and you are shooting with a specific, because for you it is expired, you know, you already do some compensations that in the end compensate all potential mess that could happen. But again, sometimes people do too much, you know, concern, but I'm not expecting that the film will turn out black. You know, they will turn out potentially different, but the film is already different. So in the end of the day, the impact will be minimal.
Yeah. But Nuno, once again, thank you so much to talk to me. It was such a cool conversation. We've been here like for more than 2 hours talking, and and listening to your stories about expired films, about different brands and repacking, and it has been a pleasure, first of all, to meet you after all the contact we had in Instagram and everything. And hopefully we do it again, because this conversation was so cool. We need to do it again at some point.
I need to send some expired films you try in Finland.
Oh man, that would be.
You can be the judge and to see if the films are good or not good. Yeah, we can do something with that.
That would be great. Yeah.
Out of the films.
But anyway, man, thank you so much. Stay safe over there in Braga, Portugal. Yeah, that's where he's talking from, people. And I wish I was in Portugal right now. Trust me, I'm telling the truth. And yeah, let's keep in touch, and hopefully people shoot without fear. I am going to do that. So.
No, thanks, Ricardo, for the invitation and for this nice talk. It's also, it's my hobby, but it's all the time I'm passionate about that, and I know. And again, I was thinking when I came to this video, I'm not a professional, so what I can give to, or what I can contribute to the audience, but talking about the film, talking about the my experience, my challenge. I think it was great, and thanks for that. Thanks for that.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, and yeah, see you next time.
Yes, thanks a lot. Ciao. Bye bye.